November 2018, Christopher Watts stood in court. He received 3 consecutive life sentences for, just an unthinkable crime, murdering his pregnant wife, Shanann, and their 2 little girls, Bella and Celeste.
And what really struck everyone, I think, was the image they projected. Shanann was very active online, wasn't she?
Oh, constantly. Photos, videos, just this picture of, well, perfect family life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then this. It just shattered that image completely, left everyone asking, how, why?
What could possibly drive someone to do this? That's the core question, isn't it?
It is. And that search for understanding is what we're trying to do today in this deep dive. We've got a few different sources lined up.
Okay.
We have a news report covering the basics, the sentencing, the investigation. Then there's a look behind the scenes of that documentary, American Murder.
Right, the one that used all the social media footage.
We also have Shanann Watts' autopsy report, which is obviously very difficult material, but important. And finally, we looked at a Reddit discussion, where people were trying to make sense of it all.
So pooling all that together to see what key facts, what insights we can pull out.
Exactly. Trying to get a clearer picture as much as possible.
Okay, so let's start with the timeline. Shanann was reported missing. When was it? August 13th, 2018.
That's right. A friend couldn't get hold of her. She'd miss a doctor's appointment. Alarm bells started ringing.
And Watts' initial reaction, publicly at least, that was quite something.
It really was. He did those interviews, didn't he? On the porch.
Yeah, pleading for them to come back, talking about how empty the house felt, no cartoons, no girls running to greet him.
Chilling. Just absolutely chilling to watch now.
Because within days, the whole story flipped.
Completely. He was arrested. And those court records, the news report mentions, they showed his first story.
Which was just unbelievable.
Right. He claimed Shanann strangled the girls after he asked for a separation and that he killed her in a rage.
Which the prosecutors immediately called a flat-out lie.
Understandably. Because the reality, as investigators found, was horrifyingly different.
They found the children's bodies at his work site?
An oil work site, submerged in oil tanks. Bella and Celeste.
And Shanann.
Shanann was buried nearby, a shallow grave.
And on top of all that, the affair.
Yes. They uncovered he was seeing a coworker, something else he'd initially denied.
So the lies just kept piling up until November 6th, the guilty plea.
He pleaded guilty to everything, multiple counts of murder, unlawful termination of pregnancy.
With their unborn son, Nico.
Yes, and tampering with deceased bodies.
Yeah.
Just the charge itself is disturbing.
The judge called it perhaps the most inhumane and vicious crime he'd seen.
A sentiment shared by so many, I think. Watts himself made a brief statement, said he was devastated, sincerely sorry.
Words that ring pretty hollow, really.
Given the circumstances, yes. And the sentence reflected that severity. 3 consecutive life sentences, no chance of parole. Plus, 84 more years?
Yeah. Okay, so that's the timeline. Let's, if we can, look at the autopsy report for Shanann. It's grim, but necessary to understand the facts.
It is. It's dated August 16th, 2018. That's the official date of death determination, though pronounced just after midnight. The autopsy itself was the next day, August 17th. She was 34.
And the cause of death.
Clearly stated. Asphyxiation due to manual strangulation by another individual. Manner of death. Homicide. No ambiguity there.
And the report details the evidence for that.
Yes, quite specifically. It mentions bruising on the neck muscles, the anterior strap muscles, more on the right side, bruising under the skin on the neck cartilage.
So physical evidence consistent with being strangled by hand.
Exactly. Very specific injuries pointing directly to manual strangulation.
The report also mentioned decomposition, right? Mild to moderate.
Yes, which, sadly, given the circumstances of her discovery, is expected.
And then the confirmation of her pregnancy, that's just heartbreaking.
It really is. Second trimester pregnancy. The report notes the fetus was found expelled post-mortem and provides measurements. Gives you a sense of, of the baby they lost.
Was there anything else significant? Toxicology.
There was. Post-mortem blood showed an ethanol level equivalent to about a 0.128 BAC.
Which sounds high, but post-mortem results can be tricky, can't they?
Very tricky. Decomposition itself can produce alcohol, so we can't definitively say what her level was before death. It's a finding, but needs careful interpretation.
Okay. The report also mentioned possible patterned abrasions on her neck and face.
Yes, possible patterned abrasions. It raises questions about the specifics of the struggle, maybe contact with clothing or another surface.
And one last point from the report, the public defender requested DNA swabs from the children's necks, even after being in the oil.
That's right. It shows the defense was looking at every angle, perhaps exploring Christopher's initial fabricated story, needing to definitively rule things out. It shows the thoroughness needed, even when things seem obvious.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the documentary, American Murder, The Family Next Door. The director, Jenny Popplewell, had a really unique approach.
She did. Her idea was to use almost entirely archived material, right? Shanann's own digital footprint.
Yeah, social media, texts, police body cams, that Ring doorbell footage.
It's incredible how much of our lives is captured now. Popplewell got access through freedom of information requests and also Shanann's family.
Their cooperation must have been vital.
Absolutely. Popplewell said the family really wanted Shanann to be the focus, not Christopher. They gave access to her laptop, her phone.
So she could tell her own story, in a way.
That was the aim. To show Shanann honestly, as a multidimensional person, Popplewell called her digital legacy the only honest witness.
That's a powerful phrase.
It is. The film is very immersive because of it.
Right.
You feel like you're piecing it together alongside the investigators, almost through Shanann's eyes.
Not your typical true crime narrative.
No. And the director stressed, importantly, that these are real people, real lives. It wasn't just about this one case, but highlighting, the bigger issues. Familicide, femicide, violence against women.
Using this specific tragedy to remind us of a wider ongoing problem.
Precisely. Keeping Shanann central reminds us of the human cost.
Okay, finally, let's touch on those Reddit discussions. It's a different kind of source, raw, immediate reactions and theorizing.
Yeah, you definitely see the profound impact this case had, especially on parents. That detail about the children in the oil tanks, it just resonated with horror for so many people.
Understandably, it's almost unimaginable. Did people on Reddit discuss why he might have disposed of the bodies differently? Shanann buried the girls in the tanks.
They did. Lots of speculation. Some thought maybe it wasn't about respect for Shanann, but just logistics. Maybe she was harder to move, or maybe grimly he wanted to separate them.
Just awful possibilities to even consider.
Awful. There was also a lot of talk about the police interrogation, that tactic where the detective suggested Shanann might have hurt the girls first.
Right. Planting that seed, was that seen as clever or risky?
Both, really. Some users felt it was a smart way to get Watts talking to break him down. Others worried it could have backfired, given him an out, or even contaminated the confession. It's a controversial technique.
A real debate there. What else stood out from the Reddit threads?
Bella's reported last words. Is the same thing going to happen to me as Cece? That detail just floored people. The innocence and the terror.
Unbearable. Just unbearable to think about.
And then, of course, the motive speculation was huge. Why did he do it? People threw out lots of theories.
Like what?
Avoiding divorce, definitely. Wanting that clean break, the new life with the mistress, Nicole Kessinger. Maybe not wanting the ongoing ties, the responsibilities of the kids.
Some suggested it was about maintaining his image. The nice guy facade.
Yeah, that came up, like a divorce would shatter that image. Financial strain was also mentioned. They'd filed for bankruptcy before, right?
In 2015, yeah. So maybe pressure building there, too.
Possibly. Anger, resentment towards Shanann. It all feeds into this really toxic mix. And disturbingly, some users pointed out pockets online where people actually defended Watts.
Defended him and blamed Shanann.
Sadly, yes. That kind of victim blaming happens, even in cases like this. It's quite shocking.
That is shocking. Did the Reddit discussion touch on the autopsy findings for the girls? Specifically the oil?
Yes. The consensus seemed to be based on reports of the autopsies, which aren't as widely public as Shanann's, that oil was found in their lungs. A horrific confirmation. Though, like any online forum, there was maybe one user disputing it, but the general understanding points that way.
And the neighbor's Ring doorbell, that was seen as key, right?
Absolutely key. Captured him loading his truck that morning. Crucial piece of the puzzle. People also speculated he'd likely planned the disposal site in advance, given it was his workplace.
Practical, almost chillingly logical points came up too, like Shanann being pregnant, heavier, maybe influencing where he buried her compared to the children.
Right. Easier perhaps to put the smaller children in the tanks. Also the idea he might have ambushed her in her sleep.
And that detail about the mistress being upset Shanann was having a boy.
Yeah, that was reportedly mentioned in discovery documents or interviews. Adds another potential layer to the jealousy or resentment angle.
It's just so many potential contributing factors. But even with all this, the Reddit users noted correctly that the DA himself only called it a partial motive at the time of the plea.
And that's really important. Even with a confession, even with all the evidence, the complete why might still be elusive. We have pieces of the affair, the desire for a new life, maybe financial stress, control issues, but fitting them together perfectly, it's hard.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we've looked at the timeline, the harrowing autopsy details, the documentary's unique perspective, the online community grappling with it all.
And we're still left with the core tragedy, the senseless loss of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and baby Nico.
That stark contrast just sticks with you, doesn't it? The happy images Shanann shared versus the absolute horror of the reality.
It really does. It's a chilling reminder that appearances can be incredibly deceptive, that darkness can exist right below the surface of what seems like a normal, even happy life.
And even with all these sources, that full, complete understanding of the motive feels just out of reach. Complex, maybe even unknowable in its entirety.
Which perhaps leaves us, and you listening, with a final thought. Just how fragile appearances can be, and maybe how little we sometimes know about the depths within people, even those close to us. And crucially, the vital importance of finding nonviolent ways to deal with relationship breakdown, seeking help, not resorting to this,